All right, everybody. Welcome to Wholehearted Living. I am not Valerie.
I am not Benny.
I kind of messed up because usually I stop and pause there, and then you say I'm Valerie.
And you're Benny.
Yeah, and I'm Benny. Anyway, we're glad to be here with you folks. Iggy's here to keep us in sound.
Hello.
Hello, Iggy.
There he is.
So, Valerie, you got to experience Iggy in a way that maybe you have never experienced him before.
No, I was very concerned.
You talking about Super Bowl Sunday?
Yes. Yes. It was very interesting.
I don't think anyone in the family's experienced
No.
Yeah.
And part of me was almost like...
They've seen bits and pieces of it, but not to that extent.
Oh, yeah. That was weird. Because, well, backtrack. Super Bowl, obviously, the Chiefs lost. And it was not a good game.
And they lost, like, horribly.
Yeah.
Like
and it was interesting to watch the dynamic of all the Chiefs fans in this house and how everybody was handling what was going on. Mm-hmm. You got up and you walked over and said, okay, let's play a game. You were just like, I can't. And then you have other people that were very upset.
Yeah.
You have other people. Patty went in the kitchen and started cleaning.
Patty went upstairs and played with the baby.
And she was upstairs for a while. Yeah. I think Andy sat on the couch and still continued to watch, but didn't say a word.
Oh, he was very upset.
Yeah.
He was very upset.
Yeah.
And I actually went over to him to make sure, and he was like, no, I'm not good.
Yeah.
That's what he was.
So it was weird
Iggy,
because
you couldn't talk to.
No.
He just looked at you.
And the weirdest thing was I go goodbye. And he's like, bye. And he just like kind of stared at me. I go, you okay? Yeah. And he literally, I was like, part of me was like, wait, I even said something to Peter, I think I was, when we were leaving, I go, I don't know if Iggy was upset about the game or maybe if he and Trinity got in a fight. Like, I was like,
no,
never have seen him like that. So that was weird.
No, I knew about Iggy that he's very competitive. Mm-hmm. So, and we've had some bad games in Chiefs Kingdom. We've had some games. This year was ridiculous because we won games that it was just crazy how we won them. So we had a lot of like highs because there were many times where I'm thinking it's over, but Patrick Mahomes always figured out a way to win, or the defense or something would always happen and we would win. Yeah. And that's just all there is to it. It was over and over and over again this year.
Yeah. And I feel like not that I follow football, but I feel like when I've seen it on at certain plays, I'm like, oh, they're losing. And like, so, they come through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Mahomes had, I think it has to be by far his worst game ever in professional sports.
Oh my gosh. And I don't even watched it and was like, this is a professional guy? Like, what the heck?
No, he by far had his worst game. I don't think he's blaming anything. That you could talk, I'm going to say this, you could talk about the offensive line, which is really bad this year, but he's played better than he did in the Super Bowl with the same offensive line. Right. So you can't totally put it on them.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Okay.
I mean, is it real? Sometimes I hear this and I don't believe this because I choose to believe that people play the game. But because the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl the last couple years, do you think that there was money on helping them lose, like not letting them win, or how do I word it? Do you think it was the game was thrown
choke so that he could get extra money?
Well, and I just like wonder because I just heard like some people said say over the years like it's kind of fixed anyway, that they always want it to go one way, kind of thing. You kind of hear those words. I've always just thought no, they play their heart out for their team, but for him to choke that badly, do you ever like in your mind think, oh, I wonder if he...
I don't, because he doesn't need money. So, I mean, it's kind of like that's, it's giving a millionaire millions. I mean, he doesn't need any money. So I really don't see it that way. As a matter of fact, if anything, I think most people thought that the Chiefs were getting like, they wanted the narrative of the Chiefs winning 3 and having this like really cool thing. And so a lot of people were saying the refs are fixing it so that the Chiefs always win and all this kind of stuff. And honest to God, it's like, I think that's, I mean, don't get me wrong. See, you don't care about football, but all I'm going to say is when the Patriots are winning all the time, I hated the Patriots. I hated Tom Brady. Never thought that he wasn't a good quarterback, but I was like, that dude just doesn't know how to lose. But He did. He went to 7 Super Bowls and won. No, he went to 10 Super Bowls and won 7. So he lost. And he didn't go to Super Bowls that they should have won. They had an undefeated season one year, lost the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
So the point is that it's not like he never lost. It's just that there's certain people that they do things and they figure out how to win. Gretzky for hockey, they just figure out how to win.
Yeah.
They don't always win.
Sure.
But if you're not playing with them, it's really irritating when those guys are playing, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are the old Patriots. So they just continue to win. And the truth of the matter is Mahomes had a bad game. There's all kinds of reasons, but it wasn't just Mahomes. I mean, there were balls that were dropped, shouldn't have been dropped. There were, honestly, I think, I hate saying this because I think we have a great coaching team. Coaching, like they're a really good coaching staff. I don't think they coach very well. And I don't think that they had a good plan for how to compensate for the weaknesses. And we just kept doing the same things wrong. Defense played better than the offense and yet didn't, still gave up 40.
Yeah.
I don't even know the final score. It was bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, we're getting into the weeds, and all of our wholehearted living people are going, what is this? Are we listening to sports radio right now? But what I can just say is that it was a very interesting day. And for me, by the third and half quarter, I was like, okay, if we come back, I'll be great, but I can't watch it anymore. It's just too painful. It's like, I would rather play a game.
We've done that with hockey with Red Wings. We've just been like, okay, we're just going to step aside because it's just bad and it's not fun. And so not that we're not a fan anymore, but it's just hard to watch.
Oh yeah. Please. I mean, I've been a fan since '87. Yeah. I'm not a fly by nighter. So I'm going to continue to be a Chiefs fan, but that was just painful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just all there is to it.
It was painful to watch you guys, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't care. I mean, I wanted them to win because of you guys, but I didn't have any stake in the game. But watching you guys, I'm like, oh, I felt it because we've been there with the Red Wings in the playoffs and stuff. They haven't been in the playoffs in a while, but I'm just saying, like, so I know that feeling.
Yeah. It was horrible.
But as big of a fan as Peter is for Red Wings, when he loses, he knows how to compartmentalize. Or he loses when the team loses. He's like, I almost feel it worse. Dustin's a lot like you. Like, you can't talk to Dustin when they lost one of the playoff games. And I was just like, oh, he's mad.
Yeah.
Peter's like, oh, all right, well, you guys want to,
Well, that was me. Would you say that was me?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, I was just like, I'm not well, and part of it is because I've seen them lose before. See, these guys have only known them as winners.
Yeah.
And so
that's true.
And so I've seen them lose. I mean, I've seen them lose way worse, and I still have so much hope because we still have a very good coaching staff. We still have a great quarterback. We still have a lot of great players. So it's not like I'm like thinking it's over, but that game was over.
Yeah.
And so it's like we move on.
Yeah.
But it was really, really hard to watch, and I might have gotten worse if I would have kept watching it.
Sure.
I mean, I watched it. I was watching it while we were playing the game. But and then every once in a while something would happen, and I get all excited, and then but it was like, I'm not gonna. Otherwise, I just can't.
Iggy should listen to the podcast Wholehearted Living.
Yeah, Iggy. You should try it. Google it. It's on YouTube. Or you can follow us on Instagram at wholehearted_living_podcast. Anyway, yeah. But Iggy was fine the next day. Or I mean, I don't know if the right word's fine, but we talked and stuff.
The thing with me is, I sound weird. Oh, that's better. The thing with me is, like, I grew up playing basketball. I've been around team sports my whole life. I've experienced winning, losing, and everything in between.
Yeah.
And I used to enjoy team sports just to enjoy them. And then there was one year when we were visiting from the Philippines here. My cousins took me out to play basketball. And they did this, I guess you could call it a bet, where the losing team has to run suicides and do like push-ups. Mm-hmm. I was on the team that lost. And ever since that, for some reason, that day, I was like, I don't ever want to lose again.
You became competitive.
And then, so when I get fully competitive, it's like...
You're all in.
Yeah.
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 And then they've seen bits and pieces of it. Like, I could think of when we did the axe throwing at Big Bear, but I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
figure it out. I was getting so mad because I couldn't figure it out.
Mm-mm.
And then there's just little things that, like, when it starts kicking in, like when it starts, it's hard for me to stop it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is why no one's ever seen it, because I'm very mindful of not letting it
Yeah.
come out.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like when we play games, like I don't get competitive. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because if I get competitive, then it's like,
Right.
It can get ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually enjoy like our nephew Jonathan when he gets real competitive and stuff like that, and or cares. Then I like that. I like people that are like involved and into it and excited about it and stuff. But I don't let it. I don't live there because it's just there's too many other things in the world that are more important than the Chiefs. So I think that's I don't know. That's at least me. So I don't know what's gonna. But I will say that was some game. But I will tell you what was great is my bench. We talked about the bench, but wasn't that a cool thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you that give a rip, Iggy brought a different TV. We put it in a certain place so everybody could sit on the bench and still see the game.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of fun.
Yeah. That's where I sat the whole time.
I know you and Maria and Stephanie, both Stephanies, I think, right?
Yep.
And
We never moved.
you
I
never
don't
moved
think.
from there, I don't think. No. And then I went over there and watched.
I moved to get food and then sit back down, and then moved to get food and then sit back down. But no,
Thank
that's
you.
where I
and
sat.
I bet you breathed at times and stuff like that. You're so
Well, I
funny
didn't want to
that
come.
She's being very. I never.
I didn't want to come in this area because this was like the game area.
Yeah, that's right.
The big TV. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was, I still enjoy having family around. I enjoyed the fact that, Marie and Brian came, and it was, I just enjoy like family time and stuff. It would have been more fun had we won, but, it would have had a different atmosphere, right? If we would have won. But, yeah, it was funny because I said to Patty, at one point I said, sweetheart, how are you doing with everything? She goes, Benny, I'm not watching. I went upstairs. I was like, oh, she's like, she was so mad too.
Yeah.
So it was just really, really, really hard. But it's really hard to get, I'm sorry, I'm going back, right? I said, I'm trying to change the subject and trying to get us to go to a different thing. But it's really hard to get mad at Mahomes, I can honestly say this is the first game where he was just like bad. I mean, there's not a whole lot you could say. Even when we lost the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, when we also didn't have an offensive line, he was doing everything he possibly could to win that game. And there was a lot of things that made it so we lost. But it wasn't him, that's for sure. And but yeah, this game. There was a lot of reasons.
I'm so bored with this conversation right now. So you can imagine what the listeners are feeling.
I will say.
Iggy's going to still bring it in.
Back to the competitive thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in the family, the bits and pieces that everyone sees, it's like, you know how when we play games, you guys are always like, well, Iggy always wins.
Yeah.
That's where, that's the competitive part of me that I let come out, where I'm like, if I learn something new, like, I want to be good at it.
Yeah.
But then, so that's where I get competitive with the games or the family.
Yeah.
And then there's also, like, you guys know I've started working out again and watching what I eat.
Oh, right.
Me being consistent with that is also because of how competitive I am with myself.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah.
So then it's like, if last week I was able to do this, like, I need to be able to do at least the same thing this week.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'm like, let's say if I did 10 reps last week and then today I only did 8, I'm like, all right, let's take a break, do 2 more.
Do 2 more. Got to get that 10 in there. Yeah.
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 Well, I gave up that ghost a while ago because
I do that actually. Today I had a program that I think it was 10 incline presses, and I was on my 4th set, and I was tired, and I was barely mustering up that 8th one, and then I was like, oh my gosh, and so I finally got it up, and then I just sat it back down. I rested, and then I was like, okay, I can't stop there. I got to get those 2 more because it says 10.
No, well, that's I will do, or I will try to do the workout, but there are just some nights that it's not your day. And I've had to like listen and go, okay, I got to work out. If I got a little sweat, if I did, burn some calories, and I'm not gonna kill myself for it.
That's my problem, because then unless something feels wrong, I get competitive with myself to the point I was like, no, I'm making this happen.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
care
that's
what
true.
it feels like.
I will say that's what I mean. It's something feels wrong. Either I'm lightheaded for some reason, you know, that could be my own fault, or there could be a number of different reasons.
Yeah,
But anyway,
my back was bad. It's a long story, but anyway, my back has been bad for almost a month now, but give or take every few days, it's like it feels better, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. But I didn't want to ever miss the gym, so I would go in and then I will modify stuff.
Right.
So those are the days that I don't strictly stick to the plan, but I'm walking in knowing I'm not sticking to the plan.
Right.
And I feel like
and
that's
the
different.
plan.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause that's the plan.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you ever going to talk about something, or are we just going to sit here?
This is the conversation I wanted to have the last time I brought a conversation up, and then I changed it on that day and said, let's talk about accepting gray hair. Remember?
Yep. Yeah. But by the way, where is it?
Oh, I spray my roots up here now.
Oh.
But you can see it all. I just spray the roots so it doesn't look but you can see it all in here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
But I just spray this root.
So wait, are you letting it go? Does that mean you're not letting it go?
Sorry.
I'm confused.
No, I am letting it go gray, but the root right here, it looks like I forgot to dye my hair. My gray roots from the part is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah,
Everything
that's right.
else.
Oh, that's right. Skunk head.
Yes. I haven't touched anything else on my head, but I have this little temporary, as soon as you wash your hair, it's out again. So you can spray it again.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
So one day you're just going to like surprise everybody?
Yeah. When it looks like it's intentional. So it's got to be like, down pretty far.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, I wanted to chat with you about... Okay, let me ask you a question. Let's find a question in here, because you always ask me questions.
I do. But my questions are good. Is this going to be a good question or a dumb question? You can ask me about the Chiefs.
Okay, you're in school.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And you have a lot on your plate. Have you ever felt so driven that you ran yourself into the ground? Or maybe you have gotten more sick, or gotten sick more often, maybe not quite as sick.
Physically, you mean?
Yeah. Like,
well, I don't know if I would say. I mean, I have a lot of things, and I am driven. I'm a driven personality, but honestly, I would say where I was really driven was 15, 20 years ago when I, like when you move to another country to accomplish something, it's like it's everything. Mm-hmm. It's like if you don't accomplish it. So Patty and I went with the kids when they were 11 and 5, and we didn't speak Spanish, and we go to Ecuador, and we're going to start a church from nothing. Zero. There was nothing. And so I was very, very driven. So the question is, did I ever feel sick?
So my I guess my topic, if you will, is talking more about like a burnout. So
right.
having a healthy ambition versus burnout.
Yeah.
So like you take it to the point where you're so driven, you have such a goal-oriented mind that maybe your health might suffer, or your family suffers because you're putting that all on the back burner to pursue or focus on something that.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably guess, I probably get sick once a year, usually not more than once a year, where I'm out for a couple of days. Like I'm pretty bad, but it seems like consistently just like once a year. It's not like, so it's not like I'm getting sick all the time. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. But what I would say is that, I wouldn't be surprised if there were times that I was less healthy, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if I like the word sick, because when I think of sick, I think of me laying in bed and vomiting or whatever. So there's been times when I'm not fully myself because I've been doing too much. If that's what you're going for. If that's where you're.
Well, yeah. I think because we're in this society of
doing.
Yeah. And you almost have wear a badge of honor about how much you have on your plate and how much you are, I think we've talked about this before in other podcasts. This isn't the point of this, but where you take pride in saying, "Oh, I haven't sat down all day." You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so
people.
Your health suffers when you do things like that. And so, what my topic was, and I can't even remember because I took these notes and studied this a couple of weeks ago, but I can't really remember, or more than that. Actually, it's been like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I did this, but,
You can't remember what brought this up?
Yeah, I can't remember why I thought about this. I do remember thinking, or as I'm looking through my notes, like there is a difference between a healthy ambition and striving for your goals that are in alignment with your values and energy. But then there's also burnout, where you are in the pursuit of success and it comes at the cost of physical health, emotional, and relational health.
Yeah.
And like, because our society, for some reason right now, is just very...
So wait, let me ask you a question. You're describing burnout maybe in a different way than I would have described it. So you're describing burnout as the physical, like a physical downturn due to an ambition. Because I often think of burnout as, and I don't know what our listeners thinking. I don't know. I'm curious about you, Iggy. Mm-hmm. I think of the word burnout as I no longer want to do something because I'm just so tired of it. Does that make can we ask Iggy?
Yeah, Iggy.
Wait, like to define what burnout is.
Yeah, like what do you, when you hear it, what do you think?
For me, it's, I guess there's different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking of when I was at Starbucks as a supervisor. I was telling you earlier, when I was doing food deliveries as a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing it so much to the point where I was just physically tired, which then made it harder for me to do my job in the first place because then I'm just always tired.
Yeah.
And then there's also, I guess, emotional burnout. Where, like, towards the end of my time at Starbucks, like you said, you're striving for an ambition towards a goal that aligns with your values. Towards the end of my time at Starbucks, my values weren't aligning with where Starbucks was going.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it was just a constant battle of like, I need to make this happen because it's my job, but like I need to sell this idea to everyone I'm working with, but I don't really believe in it myself either.
Yeah. And it's true because we were having this conversation before you came down, Benny, that he actually took, for his new job that he does now, he actually took a little pay cut. But,
A big pay cut.
A big pay cut. Pay cut. Yeah. But he says, I feel so much better. I feel healthier. My relationship with Trinity is good because I have time with Trinity. I'm not like, when I'm with Trinity, I'm with Trinity. I'm not looking at my phone to see if I'm getting texts from Starbucks or, you know what I mean?
Right. Oh yeah.
Cause he was kind of always on the clock because he was the manager of it. And so, you know, that's a lot to pay for. And that's kind of what my goal of this conversation is because there is, we are just in such a hustle culture kind of society. Is there something that is sacrificing because of that, you know? And when I say sick, there are people that, I don't know if Iggy, maybe when you were doing Starbucks and doing delivery, food or whatever, but there are people that are so
stretched out
that they do continually get sick often.
Oh no,
and
for
it
sure.
doesn't mean like they are throwing up, but you feel run down. You don't feel like yourself. You maybe you run like a slight fever. Maybe you end up catching colds frequently.
Yeah,
you know, because
the other thing is stress itself.
Yeah,
which what you're describing often drives stress. Right? Nobody who's burning out isn't stressed.
Sure,
they're all. That's
for sure.
That's a significant part of what's going on. And stress definitely kills your immune system.
Yeah, 100%.
It kicks your butt. So it's a huge thing. I mean, it's definitely part of therapy. When I'm working with clients, it's a huge thing that people, and it's interesting because sometimes you can have a client, or I'll have a client, whether it's life coaching or therapy, and I get them, and it's fascinating because you could, like, the way they're talking and you can see in them that it's like you're whether or not you know it, you're not healthy.
Yeah,
like you have something wrong, and then all of a sudden you can discover that it really isn't. It's more emotional, or you know, it has to do with other things than just.
It's funny you said that because back in the days when I would create recipes for my website, I would spend all Sunday. I would shop Saturday. I would spend all day Sunday creating recipes and taste testing them and having Peter taste them. And he would be like, are we going to go down for a walk at the beach? Or are you going to come sit down and watch this with me or whatever? And I never did. I'm like, no, I got to do this. Because I had a Monday through Friday job. A lot of people that were food bloggers that was their job. Yeah.
Right.
So I was doing this all on the weekend. And, you know, looking back now, I think, oh my gosh, like I can't say we had a bad relationship, but my relationship suffered because I put that on the back burner for this, and I wasn't making a lot of money. Yeah, I got paid. Brands would send me free stuff, or maybe from time to time, if I promoted their product, they would give me some money. But
even if you did get paid a lot of money, is it worth it? Like,
no,
like
exactly.
what Iggy was saying.
It's so funny because nowadays it's like I do miss doing that part of it, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade when, you know, maybe if I end up retiring from my day job, I'll go back to doing this more.
Right.
But I love that we have these free Saturday and Sundays where it's like, oh yeah, you want to go down? Yes, that's fine. Let's go do that. I'll grocery shop later. Or, you know, let's go for a skate, you know, especially if it's sunny, you know,
sure.
Let's go grab it. Let's take the dog for a walk and get a coffee. It's like, I don't feel, well, for lack of a better word, stressed. And I know that my health, I don't get sick often or anything like that. So I can't say that I felt like I was sick, but I was constantly, constantly, my mind never stopped. I was always thinking about what I had to do. In fact, to the point where you just said something where Peter would say, "What's wrong?" And I'd say, "Nothing." And he goes, "You can't hear your tone of voice." And I'd say, "No, everything's fine." Because you know what do you know what I'm saying? You know exactly what I'm saying.
Because you're saying things in your current state of mind, and you're not upset. It's not that you're upset. See, and I want to be careful too, because see, here's another thing that's interesting is, like, well, I don't know if you do love this. It's something you kind of love, but I think it's important that people still are able to express themselves, and maybe it is worth that weekend for you to be able to go, I need this artistic outlook for me to be able to create this recipe. But the moment that all of a sudden you're realizing, but actually what I'm losing to do this is of more value to me.
Right.
Then
that's the part of the value. Yes.
Now we have an issue, because it's like, well, actually I value more spending time with my husband than I do just making sure my Instagram feed is good.
Yeah.
And that's when it can become burnout.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's a different issue, right?
Yeah. And I feel like in something like that kind of case, maybe you can block off time, you know, like if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, gosh, I love doing this, but you're right, my relationship with my daughter is suffering, or whatever it could be, or yeah, you're right, I am feeling stressed out. Then you just tell yourself things like, and this is what I try to do now, even when I like want to prep food for the week. It's like, okay, I'm going to work from this time to this time.
There
and
it is.
And
you say, this is my time, but here's the time that I'm going to have with my family or my kids. And you could block it off. Your kid says, hey, can we hang out? I can hang out with you at 1, but not until then.
Yeah.
And then you're doing both in essence. But I think when you get to the point where the task is not even, it's interesting that you're talking about this right now, because I am finishing school. So I'm finishing school and I'm having to consider what my future is going to be, which is, I really enjoy life coaching, but obviously I just spent boatloads on getting a therapy degree, and I want to get licensed so that I just have it. But here's the thing that's fascinating is, like, what I would really want to do is start my own business. But then there's a huge part of me that knows what that takes. And I'm just going, I don't know if I want to sacrifice, whatever time or.
Yeah, I understand.
Or, whatever it is. I mean, there's things that I'm going to have to do.
A huge difference in working for someone or having.
Yeah, just showing up and doing whatever. And it's like, and so there's a part of me that's kind of like, okay, am I willing to do all of that? Am I ready to do that? Is it aligned with my values? Because like I told you, when you asked me that question before I was sober, I mean, most people know that, I had a issue. Now I'm sober. and I would say I wasn't present. I would say that I was very driven, almost hypersensitive to everything. I knew everything that was going on. I was constantly focused. I never let my computer be off my lap. I was constantly checking and making emails and setting up appointments and writing something and doing this. And it just was never ending.
Yeah.
And if you would have asked me at the time, do you like what you do? I would have said, yes, I love what I do.
Yeah.
But never mind the fact that my kids didn't think I don't know that they knew it because I still showed up to their games and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, now they would say, "Oh, Dad, you're way more present now than you ever were before. You're way more here with us." And Patty certainly says that. She goes, "Oh, you're way more here."
Yeah.
And so it's weird because now I'm a little fearful of having that kind of ambition again, which is in starting my own, company. And then at the same time, I'm like, but I think there is an itch that wants to be scratched because I don't simply want to do therapy. I want to do something where people are going to go, where lots of people are going to be impacted. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's good if you can keep the balance, and that's where this kind of ends with the stuff that I was going to say. If there's anybody that's like thinking, because I hear people at school, they're teachers and they're going back to school to do whatever, and then they're doing this, and then they're taking this class, and then and they are all constantly saying how exhausted they are. Not all, there's not like all these teachers doing it, but there's a couple that are doing this, and they just sound exhausted, and they sound bitter, and they sound like they don't have time with their family, and they, you know what I mean? And it's like, is it really worth it? Like, is it the end of it all? Will it be worth it? And if it is, then fine. But there's got to be balance. You've got to give yourself that rest day. You've got to, like, it's imperative. And so,
well, I think something that's interesting. I don't know where you're going with your thing. I'm sorry if we
totally it's fine. This is
but here's an interesting thing too. And I don't think I've said this on the podcast. I've definitely said it to people. But this culture, the U.S. culture in particular, we use terms where time is actually like a commodity.
Yeah.
So we say things like, "I'm wasting time."
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It's because what does that mean? Wasting time. Time is time. You don't waste it. It's just happening.
Yeah.
You can't waste it.
Yeah.
So people will say, "I'm wasting time." People will say, it's not worth. Do you see the word worth? Your time. Yeah. So worth is, again, a financial component. It's like we're constantly putting these little financial things. What are the other ones that are out there? I'm thinking of other ways that we talk about, but we constantly are using those kind of terms. And so in our minds, it's like the idea is simply time is a commodity that has to be every time when there's time you should be doing something productive. Yeah. And so some parents
it's like demonizing the fact that you're
doing self-care.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the only way that it becomes valuable to do self-care is if you say, "Oh, the reason why I'm doing this is because it's going to produce this."
Exactly.
So even for us, we can't even do self-care without it having that connotation.
You have to have that.
It has a purpose. It has a sense of like, I need to do this thing.
I think we've definitely talked about this many times, but I used to feel very guilty for sitting down and like watching a movie or and I would even like jump up if Peter got home, like, "Oh, I'm not sitting down. I just sat down 2 minutes ago. I was," you know what I mean? I'm like, why? What? What? You know? And so it's so funny because now I'm at the point in my life, almost 60 years old here, where I'm just like, it's okay. And granted, there are times where you are just like totally boob tubing. What did mom used to call it? The boob tube?
The boob tube. Yeah.
You're just like vegging in front of Netflix all day long. And I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I've ever done that all day long, but if that's what you chose to do that day because you had a crazy long week, then so be it.
So be it.
Yeah.
And what did you lose? You lost a day. So make the next day better.
But you caught up on, you binged a TV show you really wanted to watch. You know what I mean? And I get it that it shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be that person all the time, but I think it's okay to be okay with it.
It's okay to enjoy yourself. I used to not be able to vacation. My kids used to laugh at me. We would go on vacation and I had my phone and my computer with me. And so I did spend significant amount of times not working. So I don't want to make it sound like the whole time, I don't picture me sitting on the beach with my computer. But I would go home and just verify that things were okay. And, if I need to make a phone call, I did, and that kind of stuff. And if you would have asked me, are you disconnecting? I would have said, yeah, because I wasn't working 12 hours, but it wasn't like I was really disconnecting. And then meanwhile, I always took 3 books with me and I read them all the whole time. So, and they weren't novels.
Yeah.
I was learning and growing,
Yeah.
and which I still like to do that. But the point is, it was like, for me, it was like, oh, I'm even redeeming this. I'm on the beach reading my book, and I'm redeeming this time by
Right.
learning whatever it was I was
Right.
reading. So it's just funny because I just never, there's just this sense that in our culture that, and what's interesting, it's unique to
U.S.
U.S.
It
because
is.
all the places I've been to, and 40 countries, lived in one and one other one, and it's like, that's just not the way they think. They think completely differently. Now, to be honest with you, sometimes I think, well, you kind of need to get off your ass, but there's other times when it's like it's refreshing.
Yeah.
That it's just a different. Did I ever tell you the sweeping thing that I learned, the story about the sweeper? Oh my God.
Think so.
So I'm in the jungle in Ecuador,
The
and
mighty jungle, the lions. They
and they have this big, huge room. It doesn't matter, with like a concrete floor that's smooth, and it's, I don't know, I'm gonna make up a number. It's 50 by 50. Okay, something like that. So pretty big. And I saw this woman who started to sweep. And she's using like a regular broom, like what a witch would have under her, right? I don't know how to describe it, just a regular good old broom. And she's sweeping like that. And I was sitting next to my friend, and I said, oh man, we got to get her a dry push mop. Because if you've ever seen those, they're the ones that they're like 3 or 4 feet wide, and you just walk and you could just push. And she probably could have swept that whole thing in a quarter of the time of what she was doing. And he looked at me and goes, why? I said, because she would get it done so much faster. And he goes, and so, and I went, well then, then she would be able to do other things. And she goes, and what is she not doing that she needs to do? And all he did was just put it in perspective that what I was saying is, oh my God, she's wasting so much time by doing it that way.
Right, that's
she
true.
could do it so much faster the other way.
Right.
And it's like, what's the matter with it taking long?
Yeah.
What I mean, we're in the jungle too. It's not like she's going to hurry up and go to Netflix. There isn't. And so it's like, so the point is that it's what he was saying is, why is there a value in it getting done faster?
Yeah.
And he really impacted me because I was like, it totally changed my paradigm.
That's so interesting, because I still have that kind of, that mindset when I'm like doing certain things. Like if I'm driving somewhere and I don't have to be this place at any particular time, but I'm sitting in a little bit of traffic and I'm like, oh my gosh, this car's driving so slow. And I'm like, I'm on a mission to get there. And it takes me half a minute to realize that my point from here to there is just to drive. So why am I making a big deal about it? I'm trying to get there that much.
You know what I do now, because all cars, all cars or phones or whatever always tell you estimated time for arrival.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm the kind of guy that at times I'll be going, I'm going to beat that. I'm going to figure out how I can beat it. And I'm not joking. It's like, and I figure, and it's so funny because I would say 99.9% of the time, I either don't beat it at all or I beat it by a minute or two.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I stressed myself out these last 20 minutes trying to hurry it so I could beat that time.
And for what?
And
though?
for what?
Yeah.
Not only is it just silly.
I know.
But the second part of it is I only saved 2 minutes.
Right.
But I stressed myself out in the meantime.
It's so crazy.
I don't know.
But it is.
Everybody else that today.
Did you? You wanted to beat the time?
I actually did, but a little bit, but
yeah, exactly.
But it's true. You have this like mentality of like, you got to get there. You got to move. And it's just like, why? Half of the, it's a journey, not the destination. Right.
That's right.
But yeah. So my whole point with this whole thing is to just like, if you are that like in that hustle culture and you are feeling like you are hitting a brick wall, or you're feeling like health is suffering or relationships suffering, just kind of like, take everything step by step.
Yeah.
Just small steps, small little goals. And I mean, you'll eventually get there, but don't, I don't know. I guess it is just really true that you really want to have like balance.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a really good word. Burnout is, it's funny because I don't know that we ever really discussed burnout. So
my thing was for burnout, because what I was going to say was my burnout was more like, you're just spinning wheels. Like you're not necessarily like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. But the burnout is you're just constantly wheels spinning. You're spinning, and you're not really getting anywhere because you're so hyper focused on what you're supposed to be doing that you're burning yourself out. You're really not accomplishing much because I mean, that happens.
Yeah. So. You saved a minute, like in my case.
Yeah, exactly.
You end up saving a minute
exactly.
or, you know, and in some cases it's not even, you know, it is whatever.
Right.
But in the meantime, your journey's horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. So that's a good word. I like it.
Alrighty.
So there you go.
There you go.
Well, thank you. I already mentioned this in the middle of the podcast, but I'm going to say check us out on Instagram at wholehearted_living_podcast. So we'd love for you to comment, say anything. And
listen on Spotify.
Listen on both Spotify and YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube as well. We don't really do anything.
I am. I'm dancing right now.
But you could do it. Yeah. Yeah. So you could see Valerie's gray hairs. But that's about it. So anyway, thanks, Valerie. That was good.
Alrighty. We will chat with you guys later. Bye.
Ciao.